The pregnancy test sat on the bathroom counter like a tiny bomb, waiting to explode my world into something beautiful. Two pink lines, clear as day. My hands shook as I held it up to the light again, just to be sure. I was pregnant. Actually pregnant. A laugh bubbled out of me, half disbelief and half pure joy. After a year of marriage to Adrian, I was finally carrying our child. This was exactly what we needed. Maybe this would bring back the man I fell in love with, the one who seemed to disappear more each day into his work and his silences. Adrian Chen had been different when we first met 3 years ago at that medical conference. He was a brilliant surgeon, yes, but he also smiled then. He looked at me like I was the only person in the room. Our whirlwind romance felt like something out of a movie. 6 months of dating, a proposal under the cherry blossoms, and a small wedding with our closest friends. But marriage changed things. Or maybe it just revealed what was always there. Adrian grew distant. He left early for the hospital and came home late. Our conversations became shorter. Dinner together became rare. Some nights I fell asleep alone and woke up alone, only the faint scent of his cologne on the pillow, proving he had been there at all. I tried everything. I cooked his favorite meals. I planned date nights. I asked him what was wrong 1,000 different ways. He always said the same thing. I'm just tired, Elliot. Work is busy. But this would change everything. A baby. Our baby. I tucked the pregnancy test into my pocket and practically skipped to my laptop. I needed to plan the perfect surprise. Maybe a special dinner? Or a cute way to tell him? I spent hours scrolling through ideas, my heart feeling lighter than it had in months. That's when I remembered I needed to schedule my first prenatal appointment. Dr. Morrison's office had squeezed me in for later that week, but I wanted to check if there were any earlier slots. I logged into the patient portal Adrian and I shared since we use the same medical network. My cursor hovered over the appointment section when something caught my eye. A document in Adrian's file. Recent lab results from 2 weeks ago. I frowned. He hadn't mentioned being sick or getting tests done. I shouldn't look. I knew I shouldn't. But my hand clicked anyway. The document opened, and my whole world tilted sideways. Diagnosis: Stage 2. Pancreatic cancer. Recommended treatment plan attached. Patient informed of prognosis. Patient declined to disclose to family members at this time. The words swam in front of my eyes. Cancer. Adrian had cancer, and he hadn't told me. I read it again. And again. Stage 2. Treatment plan. Patient declined to disclose. He knew. He knew for 2 weeks and said nothing. My phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Working late again. Don't wait up. I stared at that message for a long time. How many of these texts were real? How many were just excuses to avoid me? To avoid telling me he was dying? The pregnancy test felt heavy in my pocket now. I was carrying our child, and Adrian was carrying a secret that could destroy us both. I wanted to call him, to scream at him, to cry, but instead, I sat there in the growing darkness of our living room, one hand on my stomach and the other clutching my phone. Everything made sense now. The distance, the silence, the way he looked at me sometimes with such sadness I couldn't understand. He was pushing me away, protecting me, or maybe just being a coward. The front door opened around midnight. Adrian stepped in, looking exhausted in his scrubs. His dark hair was messy and there were shadows under his eyes I hadn't noticed before, or maybe I had noticed and just didn't want to see. "You're still up," he said quietly. I looked at my husband, really looked at him, the man I loved, the father of my child, the man who was dying and wouldn't tell me. "We need to talk," I said. Something flickered in his eyes. Fear, maybe, or relief. "Elliot, I know about the cancer, Adrian." The color drained from his face. He stood there, frozen, his bag slipping from his shoulder to the floor. How? His voice was barely a whisper. Does it matter? I stood up, my whole body shaking. You've had cancer for weeks and you didn't tell me. Your husband, the person who promised to be with you in sickness and health. I was trying to protect you. From what? From loving you? From being there for you? He looked away, his jaw tight. From watching me die. The words hung in the air between us, sharp and horrible and true. Adrian stood in the doorway like a stranger, like someone I had never known at all. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Say something, I whispered. Explain to me why you thought keeping this secret was better than letting me help you. He moved to the couch slowly, sitting down like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. The prognosis isn't good, Elliot. Stage 2 pancreatic cancer is serious. Even with treatment, the survival rate is low. So your plan was to just disappear? To push me away until what? Until you died and I had to find out at your funeral? No. He rubbed his face with both hands. I don't know. I wasn't thinking clearly. When Dr. Harrison told me, I panicked. All I could think about was you having to watch me get worse, having to take care of me, having to bury me. I sat down beside him, leaving space between us. My anger was still there, hot and bright, but underneath it was something else. Fear. Desperate, clawing fear. What's the treatment plan? I asked. Surgery first. They want to remove the tumor. Then chemotherapy. Maybe radiation, depending on how the surgery goes. He turned to look at me finally, and his eyes were red. It's going to be hell, Elliot. I've seen what chemo does to people. I'm a surgeon. I know exactly how bad this can get. And you think going through that alone would be better? I think you deserve more than being chained to a dying man. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to shake him. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out the pregnancy test. I set it on the coffee table between us. Adrian stared at it, then stared at me, then back at the test. Is that... He couldn't finish the sentence. I'm pregnant, I said. I found out this morning. I was planning this whole surprise. I was so happy because I thought maybe this would fix us. Maybe a baby would bring you back to me. My voice cracked. But you were never distant because you stopped loving me. You were distant because you were dying. He picked up the test with trembling hands. You're really pregnant? 3 months along, I think. I have an appointment next week to confirm. Adrian started to cry. Not quiet tears, but deep, broken sobs that shook his whole body. He pressed the pregnancy test to his chest like it was something precious and fell apart. I couldn't stay angry. I pulled him into my arms, and we held each other while he cried. I'm so sorry, he kept saying. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know, I whispered into his hair. I know. We stayed like that for a long time. Eventually, his tears slowed. He pulled back, wiping his face with his sleeve. I wanted kids with you, he said. It's all I've wanted since we got married, and now I might not even get to meet our baby. Stop, I said firmly. You're going to fight this. We're going to fight this together. Elliot, no. I don't want to hear about statistics or survival rates or worst-case scenarios. I want to hear you say you'll fight, that you'll let me be there for you, that we're going to do this together. He looked at me for a long moment. What if I die anyway? Then you die knowing you were loved every single day, that you had a husband who stood by you, that you tried everything possible to meet your child. I took his hands. But we're not planning your funeral yet, Adrian. We're planning your treatment, and we're planning for this baby. Something in his expression shifted. A tiny spark of hope appeared in his eyes. You really want to do this? He asked. The treatment is going to be hard. I'll be sick. I'll be weak. It's not going to be pretty. I didn't marry you because you're pretty. I married you because I love you, all of you, healthy or sick. He kissed me then, desperate and grateful and full of everything we had been holding back for months. When we broke apart, his forehead rested against mine. I love you, he breathed. I'm so sorry I forgot to show you that. Then start showing me now, I said. No more secrets, no more pushing me away. We face this together. Together, he agreed. We talked for hours that night about his diagnosis, about the treatment plan, about the baby, about our fears and hopes and everything in between. Adrian told me that he had been preparing our finances, making sure I would be taken care of if he died. He had been seeing Dr. Harrison for consultations without telling anyone at the hospital except his closest colleague, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, who had been covering for him. I need to tell her I told you, Adrian said. She's been worried about me keeping this secret. Tell her tomorrow, I said. Tonight. Just stay here with me. We moved to the bedroom and lay down together, actually together, for the first time in months. Adrian's hand rested on my stomach. There's really a baby in there? He asked softly. Our baby, I confirmed. I'm going to fight, Elliot. For you, for our family. The surgery was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Dr. Harrison, Adrian's oncologist and longtime friend, sat us down in his office to go through everything. The tumor is located in the head of the pancreas, Dr. Harrison explained, pointing to scans on his computer screen. We'll perform a Whipple procedure. It's major surgery, Adrian. You know that. Adrian nodded. He sat next to me, holding my hand tight. I've assisted on dozens of them. I know what I'm in for. Recovery will take weeks, then we'll start chemotherapy. 6 months minimum, possibly longer depending on how you respond. Dr. Harrison looked at both of us seriously. This isn't going to be easy. We know, I said. But we're ready. Dr. Harrison smiled slightly. Sarah told me you finally told Elliot. About time. You knew he was keeping it from me? I asked. I advised against it strongly, Dr. Harrison said. But patient confidentiality meant I couldn't tell you myself. I'm glad he came to his senses. Adrian squeezed my hand. Me too. We left the hospital with a thick folder of information about the surgery, recovery, and treatment plan. In the car, Adrian was quiet. What are you thinking? I asked. I'm scared, he admitted. I've performed surgeries like this, but being the patient is different. What if something goes wrong? What if I don't wake up? I pulled over into a parking lot and turned to face him. Then I'll be right there when you fall asleep, and right there waiting when you wake up. You're not doing this alone, Adrian. Not for one single second. He nodded, tears in his eyes again. He had been crying more lately, letting himself feel things he had been holding back. I need to tell my parents, he said, and you should tell yours too, about the baby and about my diagnosis. That conversation was harder than I expected. My mom cried. My dad looked shocked. Adrian's parents flew in from California immediately, his mother practically breaking down the moment she saw her son. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Mrs. Chen demanded, holding Adrian's face in her hands. I was trying to process it myself first, Adrian said quietly. I'm sorry, Mom. Mr. Chen clapped his son on the shoulder. We're here now, whatever you need. Having family around helped. Adrian's mom moved into our guest room temporarily to help with meals and appointments. My mom stopped by daily with food and moral support. Even though I was the one who was pregnant, everyone seemed to forget about me and focused entirely on Adrian. I didn't mind. He needed it. But Dr. Morrison, my OB-GYN, reminded me during my prenatal appointment that I needed to take care of myself too. Your stress levels are concerning, she said gently. I know your husband is going through treatment, but you're growing a baby. You need to rest. Eat well. Don't take on everything yourself." "I'm fine," I insisted. She gave me a look that said she didn't believe me. "Elliot, I'm serious. Stress during pregnancy can cause complications. You need to let people help you too." I promised I would try. The day of Adrian's surgery arrived too quickly. We got to the hospital at dawn. Adrian changed into his gown while I tried to stay calm. Sarah Mitchell came by to wish him luck. "You're in good hands," she told Adrian. "Dr. Harrison is the best." "I know," Adrian said. "I just wish I could be on the other side of the scalpel." When they came to take him to the operating room, I walked with him as far as I could. At the doors, he grabbed my hand. "I love you," he said. "Tell our baby I love them too." "You'll tell them yourself," I said firmly, "when you wake up." He smiled. "When I wake up." They wheeled him away, and I stood there watching until he disappeared through the doors. Then I went to the waiting room where both our families had gathered. The surgery took 7 hours. I counted every minute. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus. I just sat there with my hand on my stomach, talking quietly to our baby. "Your daddy is strong," I whispered. "He's going to be okay. He has to be okay because you need to meet him. He's going to love you so much." Finally, Dr. Harrison emerged in his scrubs. Everyone stood up at once. "The surgery went well," he said, and I could breathe again. We removed the tumor and some surrounding tissue. The lymph nodes we biopsied during surgery appear clear, which is good news. He's in recovery now. "When can I see him?" I asked. "Soon. He'll be groggy, but you can sit with him." When they finally let me back, Adrian was pale and connected to various monitors and IVs, but his eyes opened when I took his hand. "Hey," he whispered. "Hey, yourself," I said, smiling through tears. "You did it." "Did they get it all?" "They got the tumor. Dr. Harrison says it looks good." He closed his eyes in relief. "Good. That's good." I stayed with him through the night, sleeping in the uncomfortable hospital chair. Every time he woke up in pain or confusion, I was there, holding his hand, reminding him he wasn't alone. Recovery was brutal. Adrian, who was used to being the strong one, the doctor, the one in control, struggled with being helpless. He needed help walking, help bathing, help with everything. "I hate this," he said one night, frustrated tears streaming down his face. "I hate being weak." "You're not weak," I told him. "You're healing. There's a difference." 6 weeks after surgery, Adrian started chemotherapy. I was 5 months pregnant by then, visibly showing, and the irony wasn't lost on either of us. While my body was creating life, his body was fighting death. The first chemo session was scary. We sat in the oncology wing, surrounded by other patients in various stages of treatment. Adrian was quiet, watching the poison drip into his veins. "How do you feel?" I asked. "Weird," he said. "I know what this is supposed to do. I know the side effects, but experiencing it is different from reading about it." He was right. The side effects hit hard. The nausea came first. Adrian couldn't keep anything down for days. Then the fatigue set in, so deep that some days he could barely get out of bed. His hair started falling out in clumps, which he had expected but still hurt to see. "I look like a sick person now," he said one morning, staring at himself in the mirror. "You look like someone who's fighting," I corrected. But the hardest part was watching him lose his sense of self. Adrian had always been confident, strong, in control. Now he was vulnerable in ways that scared him. Meanwhile, my pregnancy progressed. The baby was growing, kicking, making their presence known. During one particularly bad night, when Adrian was throwing up from the chemo, the baby kicked hard. "Adrian," I said, taking his hand and placing it on my stomach. "Feel that?" His eyes widened as he felt our baby move. For just a moment, the sickness and fear disappeared from his face. "They're strong," he whispered. "Just like their dad," I said. We found out the baby's gender at my anatomy scan. Adrian insisted on coming despite feeling awful from his latest treatment. "It's a boy," the ultrasound technician said, pointing at the screen. Adrian started crying right there in the exam room. Happy tears this time. "A son," he breathed. "We're having a son." We spent that evening talking about names. Adrian wanted something meaningful, something strong. "What about James?" he suggested. "It means supplanter, or one who overcomes." "James," I repeated, feeling it out. "I like it. James Chen." "James Elliot Chen," Adrian added, looking at me. "After his other dad." I kissed him softly. Perfect. The pregnancy cravings hit me hard around this time, which provided some much-needed comic relief. One night at 2 in the morning, I woke up desperate for pickles and ice cream. "Elliot, that's disgusting," Adrian said, watching me eat. "Don't judge me. Your son wants what he wants." Adrian laughed, actually laughed, for the first time in weeks. "Blaming our unborn son for your weird food choices?" "Absolutely." These light moments kept us going. Sarah Mitchell visited often, bringing food and gossip from the hospital. Adrian's parents checked in daily. My mom threw me a small baby shower that Adrian attended, wearing a beanie to cover his hair loss. But the treatment was taking its toll. By the 3rd month of chemotherapy, Adrian had lost significant weight. His energy was almost gone. Some days were so bad that I worried we wouldn't make it through. "I can't do this anymore," he said one particularly rough night. "I'm so tired, Elliot. I'm so tired of being sick." "I know," I said, holding him. "I know you are. But you're halfway through treatment. We're halfway there. What if it's not working? What if I'm putting myself through this for nothing?" "We won't know until the scans after treatment," I reminded him. "But Dr. Harrison says your blood work looks good. The tumor markers are decreasing." He nodded weakly. "I just want to hold our son. I want to be there when he's born." "You will be," I promised, even though I was terrified too. The next morning, I found Adrian in the nursery we had been slowly putting together. He was sitting in the rocking chair, looking exhausted but peaceful. "I come in here sometimes when I can't sleep," he admitted. "I imagine what it'll be like, reading him stories, watching him grow." I sat on his lap carefully. "You'll do all of those things." "How do you know?" "Because you're the strongest person I know. And because James needs his daddy." Adrian wrapped his arms around me, one hand on my swollen belly. "I'm going to fight. For both of you. I'm going to beat this." "I know you will." I was 7 months pregnant when things went wrong. Adrian had just finished his 5th round of chemotherapy and was home resting. I was in the kitchen making soup when I felt it. A sharp, stabbing pain in my abdomen. Then another. Then something wet running down my leg. "Adrian!" I called out, trying to stay calm. "Adrian, something's wrong." He appeared in the doorway, pale and wearing his beanie, but alert. His doctor instincts kicked in immediately. "What's happening?" he asked, already reaching for his phone. "Pain. And I think I'm bleeding." His face went white, but his hands stayed steady. Okay, we're going to the hospital. Now." The drive felt endless. Adrian called ahead to Dr. Morrison's service. The pain kept coming in waves. I was terrified, one hand on my belly, silently begging James to be okay. "Stay with me, buddy," I whispered. "Please stay with me." Adrian kept looking over at me while he drove, his jaw clenched. "You're going to be fine. Both of you are going to be fine." We rushed into the emergency room. Dr. Morrison was already there waiting. They got me into a room immediately, hooked me up to monitors. The sound of James's heartbeat filled the room, fast but steady. "He's alive," I breathed. "Yes," Dr. Morrison said, checking the monitors. "But you're having contractions. You're in early labor, Elliot." "It's too soon," I said. "I'm only 30 weeks." "I know. We're going to try to stop the labor. Get you on medications to help the baby's lungs develop just in case. But I need to examine you." The next few hours were terrifying. They gave me medications to stop the contractions, steroids for James's lungs. Adrian sat beside my bed the whole time, holding my hand despite how exhausted he must have been. "This is my fault," he said quietly. "The stress of everything, taking care of me. It's too much for you." "Don't," I said firmly. "This isn't your fault. Sometimes these things just happen." But I was scared. So scared. Eventually, the contractions slowed. Dr. Morrison looked relieved. "We've stopped the labor for now. But Elliot, you're on strict bed rest for the remainder of your pregnancy. No stress, no activity, nothing." "But Adrian needs—" "I need you and James to be safe," Adrian interrupted. "That's what I need. We'll figure out the rest." They kept me in the hospital for 3 days for observation. Adrian barely left my side, even though I could see how much the hospital environment was draining him. He looked pale and sick, but he refused to leave. "You should go home and rest," I told him. "I'm not leaving you." On the second night, Sarah Mitchell stopped by. She took one look at Adrian and shook her head. "You look terrible," she said bluntly. "Thanks, Sarah. Real supportive." "I'm serious. When's your next treatment?" "3 days. You need to rest before then. You're no good to Elliot if you collapse." She looked at me. "Talk some sense into him." I squeezed Adrian's hand. "She's right. Go home. Sleep in our bed. Your mom is there. She'll take care of you." "I don't want to leave you alone." "I'm not alone. I have nurses, and you'll come back tomorrow." I kissed his cheek. "Please, Adrian. For me." He finally agreed, reluctantly. After he left, I lay in the hospital bed with my hands on my belly. "Your daddy loves you so much," I whispered to James. "He's fighting so hard to be here for you. We both are." The next day, Dr. Morrison cleared me to go home with strict instructions. Bed rest, no stairs, no stress. Adrian's mother practically became my nurse, bringing me meals and helping me to the bathroom. "You're going to drive me crazy," I told her after the 5th time she asked if I needed anything. "Good," Mrs. Chen said. "That means you're resting like you're supposed to." Adrian continued his chemotherapy treatments. Each one seemed harder than the last, but he never complained. He would come home exhausted and still check on me first. Make sure I was okay. Make sure James was okay. "You don't have to take care of me," I said one night. "I'm supposed to be taking care of you." "We take care of each other," he said simply. "That's what marriage is." 8 months pregnant. So Adrian finished his last chemotherapy treatment. We celebrated quietly at home with both our families. He looked thin and tired, but there was hope in his eyes. "I made it," he said. "I actually made it through." "You did," I said proudly. Now we wait for the scans. The scans that would tell us if the treatment worked, if the cancer was gone, if Adrian would live to see our son grow up. 3 weeks later, we sat in Dr. Harrison's office waiting for results. My due date was 2 weeks away. Adrian held my hand so tight it almost hurt. Dr. Harrison walked in with a folder. His face was serious. "Tell us," Adrian said. "Don't make us wait." Dr. Harrison smiled then. Actually smiled. "The scans are clear. No evidence of disease. The surgery and chemotherapy worked, Adrian. You're cancer-free." The world stopped, then started again, brighter than before. Adrian started crying. I started crying. We held each other while Dr. Harrison tactfully stepped out to give us a moment. "You did it," I sobbed into his shoulder. You beat it. We beat it, he corrected. Together. 2 weeks later, I woke up at 3 in the morning to my water breaking. Adrian was asleep beside me, looking healthier than he had in months. His hair was starting to grow back, soft and short. Adrian, I shook him gently. It's time. He sat up immediately, doctor mode activated. Contractions? Starting. Water broke. Okay. He took a deep breath. Let me get the bag. We'd packed the hospital bag weeks ago, but Adrian checked it anyway. He called Dr. Morrison, called his parents, called my parents. Meanwhile, I breathed through contractions that were getting closer together. You're really calm, I observed. I'm terrified, Adrian admitted, but one of us has to pretend to have it together. The drive to the hospital was surreal. 9 months ago, Adrian had been diagnosed with cancer. Now we were about to meet our son. Labor was long, painful. Adrian stayed by my side the entire time, holding my hand, wiping my forehead, whispering encouragement. You're doing amazing, he said. So strong. Easy for you to say, I panted. You're not the one pushing a human out of your body. He laughed. Fair point. 14 hours later, Dr. Morrison said the words I had been waiting for. It's time to push. Adrian moved to support me, his arm around my shoulders. You can do this, Elliot. You can do this. I pushed and pushed and pushed until finally, I heard it, a cry, high and strong and perfect. It's a boy, Dr. Morrison announced, holding up our son. A beautiful, healthy boy. They placed James on my chest and the world disappeared. There was only this tiny, perfect human. Our son. With a full head of dark hair and Adrian's nose and my eyes. Hi, James, I whispered, crying. Hi, baby. We've been waiting for you. Adrian was crying too, his hand on James's back. He's perfect. He's absolutely perfect. James was checked and weighed and measured. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, healthy and strong. They wrapped him in a blanket and handed him to Adrian. I watched my husband hold our son for the first time. This man who had fought cancer, who had survived, who was here to meet the child he thought he might never know. Hi, son, Adrian said softly. I'm your daddy. I've been waiting so long to meet you. James opened his eyes, looking up at Adrian like he recognized him. Maybe he did. Maybe he had heard Adrian's voice all those months, talking to my belly, reading stories, singing off-key lullabies. He has your eyes, Adrian said, looking at me. And your determination, I replied. He's a fighter, just like his dad. Our families came to visit later. Mrs. Chen cried the moment she saw James. My mom took about 1,000 photos. Everyone wanted to hold him, but Adrian was reluctant to let him go. I just got him, Adrian said, cradling James protectively. You're going to be one of those dads, Sarah Mitchell teased when she stopped by. The overprotective kind. Absolutely, Adrian agreed without shame. That night, after everyone left, it was just the 3 of us. James slept in the bassinet beside my hospital bed. Adrian sat in the chair next to me, holding my hand. A year ago, I thought I was dying, he said quietly. I was preparing to leave you alone. And now, he looked at James. Now I have everything. We have everything, I corrected. I'm sorry I pushed you away, Adrian said. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the diagnosis right away. I wasted so much time being scared when I should have been holding you. You're holding me now, I said. That's what matters. James made a small sound in his sleep, and we both looked over at him. Our miracle. Our son. Thank you, Adrian whispered. For what? For not giving up on me. For fighting when I wanted to quit. For giving me this. He gestured to James, to me. to our little family, for giving me everything. I pulled him close and kissed him. You gave me everything too. We took James home 2 days later. The house felt different with the baby in it. Fuller, louder, more alive. Adrian was an amazing father from day one. He changed diapers like a pro. He could get James to stop crying with just a few quiet words. He sang to him, read to him, held him for hours. You're a natural, I said, watching him rock James to sleep. I'm terrified I'll mess up, Adrian admitted. We'll mess up together, I promised. That's what parents do. The first few months with James were beautiful chaos. Sleepless nights, endless diaper changes, the wonder of watching our son discover the world. Adrian had checkups with Dr. Harrison every month. Each one made us nervous, but each one came back clear. No signs of cancer. He was truly in remission. How long until we can stop worrying? I asked Dr. Harrison during one appointment. The 5-year mark is significant, he said, but honestly, you'll probably always worry a little. That's normal after what you've been through. Adrian's hair grew back, thicker than before. He gained back the weight he had lost. His energy returned. He looked like himself again, only softer somehow, more present. I want to go back to work, he announced one morning when James was 3 months old. Are you sure you're ready? I asked. I need to feel useful again, he said. Not just as a dad and husband, but as a surgeon. I need to remember who I am. I understood that. Okay, but part-time at first. Don't overdo it. He agreed. Going back to the hospital was emotional for him. His colleagues welcomed him back with tears and hugs. Sarah Mitchell had held down his cases while he was out, and she handed them back over with pride. You look good, she said. Really good. I feel good, Adrian said. Better than I have in over a year. Watching Adrian operate again was like watching him come back to life. He was brilliant, focused, in his element. But he was different too. More patient, more compassionate. He spent extra time with his patients, explaining things, listening to their fears. Cancer changed me, he told me one night. I understand now what it's like to be scared, to feel helpless. It makes me a better doctor. At home, we settled into a routine. I had taken parental leave from my job at the architecture firm. Adrian worked 3 days a week. We took turns with night feedings. We learned to function on little sleep and lots of coffee. James grew fast. He smiled at 2 months, laughed at 3, started rolling over at 4. Every milestone felt like a victory. I can't believe I almost missed this, Adrian said one day, watching James grab his own feet. But you didn't miss it, I reminded him. You're here. That's what matters. One afternoon, Adrian came home early from the hospital. I was on the floor doing tummy time with James. I have an idea, Adrian said. Should I be worried? I want to renew our vows, he said. A year ago, I was dying and keeping secrets. I want to marry you again, the right way, with honesty and hope, and James there to witness it. My eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? Will you marry me again, Elliot? Yes, I laughed. Yes, absolutely yes. We planned a small ceremony in our backyard. Just family and close friends. Sarah Mitchell offered to hold James during the ceremony, which Adrian reluctantly agreed to. I wrote my own vows this time, Adrian said the night before. No traditional stuff, just the truth. The ceremony was beautiful, simple. Adrian wore a dark blue suit. I wore gray. James wore a tiny bow tie that he kept trying to pull off. When it was time for vows, Adrian took my hands and looked me in the eyes. Elliot, a year and a half ago, I made you promises that I thought I wouldn't be able to keep. I promised you forever, but I was dying. I promised you partnership, but I pushed you away. I promised you honesty, but I kept the biggest secret of my life. His voice shook, but he continued. Today I make you new promises. I promise to fight for every day we have together. I promise to never face the hard things alone. I promise to be present for you and for our son. I promise to love you with everything I am for as long as I live. Whether that's 50 years or 5, every moment will be yours. I was crying. Everyone was crying. My turn, I said, squeezing his hands. Adrian, you thought you were protecting me by keeping your diagnosis secret, but you didn't protect me. You just delayed the pain. Today, I promise to never let you carry burdens alone. I promise to fight beside you, not behind you. I promise to love you through the scary things, the hard things, the uncertain things. You are the love of my life, and I choose you every day for the rest of our lives. We exchanged new rings, simple bands engraved with the date. We kissed while our families cheered and James made baby noises from Sarah's arms. I love you, Adrian whispered against my lips. I love you too, I said. Forever. James was 5 years old when Adrian hit his 5-year cancer-free mark. 5 years of clean scans. 5 years of remission. Statistically, he was considered cured. We celebrated at the hospital with Dr. Harrison, who had become a close family friend. You did it, Dr. Harrison said, shaking Adrian's hand. You beat the odds. We did it, Adrian corrected, pulling me close. None of this would have been possible without Elliot. James tugged on Adrian's sleeve. Daddy, can we get ice cream now? You promised. Adrian laughed and scooped him up. Yes, buddy, we can get ice cream. James had Adrian's dark hair and my eyes. He was smart and curious and full of energy. He wanted to be a doctor like his daddy, but also an astronaut and maybe a dinosaur expert. You can be all of those things, Adrian told him seriously. Never limit yourself. We went to our favorite ice cream shop, the one that made the ridiculous sundaes James loved. While he was distracted with chocolate and sprinkles, Adrian took my hand. I want another baby, he said. I looked at him in surprise. Really? James is getting bigger, and I know we said we'd probably just have one, but... He smiled. I want more of this. More of us. Another baby, I said, trying out the idea. James would love a sibling. So is that a yes? I kissed him. That's a yes. 6 months later, I was pregnant again. This time, there was no secret diagnosis, no fear, just joy. James was excited about becoming a big brother. He talked to my belly constantly, telling his little sister, we found out early this time, about everything she needed to know. And Daddy was sick once, but he got better. James explained to my stomach. So if you're ever sick, the doctors will help you. Daddy knows all the doctors. Adrian's eyes met mine over James's head. We didn't talk much about the cancer anymore. It was part of our past, but it didn't define our present. Our daughter Emma was born on a sunny spring morning. She had my hair and Adrian's nose, and a cry that could wake the whole hospital. James held her carefully, his eyes wide. She's so small. You were that small once, Adrian said. Really? Really? Watching Adrian with her 2 children, watching our family grow and thrive, I thought about that night 5 years ago. When I found his diagnosis, when everything fell apart and came back together, we had been through so much. Cancer, pregnancy complications, fear, doubt. But we had made it. Together. What are you thinking about? Adrian asked that night, while Emma slept on his chest and James was curled up in bed. How lucky we are, I said. Lucky? The cancer could have won. You could have died, but you didn't. You fought and you won, and now look at us. Adrian looked around our bedroom, at our newborn daughter, at our sleeping son down the hall, at me. I am the luckiest man alive, he agreed. Emma stirred slightly, and Adrian adjusted her gently. He had gotten even better with babies the second time around. Do you ever think about how different things could have been? I asked. Every day, he said honestly. But then I think about how different they are now. I'm a better husband because of what we went through, a better father, a better doctor. I don't regret the cancer. I regret keeping it from you, but not the cancer itself. It taught me what really matters. What really matters? He looked at me. This, you, our kids, every single ordinary moment that I almost lost. James appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. I had a bad dream. Come here, buddy, I said, making room on the bed. James climbed up between us. Adrian shifted so Emma was secure. We lay there, our family of 4, safe and together. I love you guys, James mumbled, already falling back asleep. We love you too, Adrian and I said together. This was everything. This messy, beautiful, imperfect life. These ordinary moments that were actually extraordinary. This love that had been tested and survived. Years later, when people asked Adrian about his cancer, he always said the same thing. It was the worst and best thing that ever happened to me. It almost killed me, but it also taught me how to truly live. And when they asked me what it was like to stand by him through it all, I said, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Because that's what love is. Not just the beautiful moments, but the scary ones too. The painful ones, the ones where you don't know if you'll make it through. We made it through, and we would keep making it through together for all the days we had left.